Welcome to the last episode of Genesis 7, The End of the Road. What lies beyond the interstellar medium that, honestly, we can just call space. And what's beyond it? I'm guessing more space. Oh, what I got a call.
Hey Diamanda! It's everyone's favorite Jehovah's Witness turned godless heathen reviewer of Christian movies, Iros! So, is it finally time for the grand finale of Genesis 7?
Yeah. Do you know anything about interstellar mediums?
Interstellar mediums. So you mean like psychics in space, or the ways in which to watch Interstellar?
Yeah, so you're one of those dumb smart people, or is it smart dumb, the preferred nomenclature?
Dumb smart is what the community goes by nowadays. But hey, could you appear on screen? I mean, as captivating as scenes from Genesis 7 are, I'd much rather talk to a person. I mean, just talking to random footage is weird.
This is a TV review. I do them in voiceover.
You can't make an exception? It's really weird.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, it is! And might I say, you're looking very ethereal these days. It's a good look. But, and I'm just throwing ideas out here, what if I shift to voiceover too? Ah, thank you. How do you like me now?
Almost as much as before.
Listen, I know you got the idea of reviewing Genesis 7 from my review of the pilot.
I did not.
I have footage of you saying it.
No. Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs of TED, I would just like to make a brief tangent, if I may, in this amazing lecture I'm doing on crop rotation in the 14th century, just to say that without a shadow of a doubt, Ross's review of Genesis 7, Episode 1, The Mission, inspired my own reviews on the subject. The shot's a fake! It's not a fake. Oh, then maybe it's not. I really need to fire my memory.
This intro's already gone on too long. Can I join you in reviewing the last episode?
If I said no, this whole thing would be both cruel and pointless. So no!
Hey, good intro. Why am I still here?
I worked out that if you do the video with me, I have to do a little less voiceover.
You are so gracious. Holy crap! Is this intro still 12 minutes long?
Stop complaining, there's less show for us to watch. 3 minutes in, we can finally begin. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Genesis 7. Its continuing mission to annoy the fuck out of sentient beings everywhere.
To blandly go where no one has gone before, and sadly, make it back again. Look at this shot. It's flying through what looks like the Milky Way, past countless stars and into this white ball, and bam, more space. Either the shot entered a Kugelblitz and ended up in a parallel universe,
Or
the CGI is substandard and failed to get across what it was intending. But what are the odds of that?
you know, we're fast approaching 4 minutes 30 seconds in before we even get to the ship. Honestly, I was kind of enjoying it.
I did some calculations, and it would take us over 2,000 years to get to the closest star, Proxima Centauri.
I don't want to bore you with all the calculations that I probably got wrong, but to get to Proxima Centauri in 2,000 years, it'd have to be going so fast that they'd have reached Jupiter in about a second. If they were going that fast, they could have done these missions on their lunch break from their actual jobs, you know. Inventing stuff, standing on street corners, holding paranoid placards, or being a wastepaper basket.
I know, the distances are mind-boggling.
And yet you don't believe in the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe. Their version of God is apparently like your grandma who puts plastic over everything even though nobody ever visits. The universe is so large and constantly expanding. The thing is, there could be something incredible out there, but it'll just never make contact with us. Anyone who's ever used a dating site knows what I'm talking about. Fuck! Oh, fuck! They've reached the end of the heliosphere, the point where the solar winds kind of dissipate.
It's very faint, but you can clearly see where the sun's energy hits the interstellar medium.
And are you ever going to tell us what exactly that is? We can't insult it without details.
Well, I can, and I probably would if the episode didn't do it for me.
Sounds kind of hokey. Interstellar medium. Interstellar medium.
But I like to think I could do better than just saying its name in a silly voice. Though that sounds fun. Interstellar Medium!
Hey, it turns out the interstellar medium is something. It's the space between star systems, and it's actual science that came up with that dumb name. Still, I vote we blame the show regardless.
I'm pretty sure I already did that.
Yeah, and despite what we see here, the universe is by no means empty.
Except for alien life. The universe is totally empty when it comes to that.
Yeah, and talking about how empty the universe isn't when you're in the middle of the interstellar medium is like talking about how much water there is on Earth when standing in the middle of Sahara. You're technically right, but you sound like a cock. Brain drains in a shuttle grabbing the probe ready to take it back to Earth, because seconds after talking about A, how long it would take to reach another star, and B, how the universe isn't empty, it makes total sense to grab something that could find a bunch of stuff on its way to another star. Is this a Tower of Babel thing? Don't challenge God by leaving your domain and trying to enter his.
If it is, then it's severely misjudged, because if anything's our domain, it's that blue and green ball-shaped thing they left millions of miles back. Maybe God punished the human race by cutting their total brain power in half as a punishment for inventing super science.
Let me think about this for a minute. There's really no way to grab it from this angle. You'll need to grab it in two places so it's secure for the ride home. Snap, this is tricky. I have to get the arm underneath that little bottom thing sticking out.
It's really the challenges faced and bested that make these characters so compelling.
I've been thinking maybe they were sent to find Voyager 2 because Admiral Croft watched Star Trek the Motion Picture and he wanted to save his god from a fight he'd definitely lose.
You know, I've learned so much by coming on this mission with you, Uncle Enoch. There's so much evidence out here that God really did create everything.
What? Evidence? Did I miss an episode or something?
Dude, you missed like 10 of them.
Yeah, but actual evidence? In this show? In this show? When?
I don't know, there was the usual bullshit, a dream that brought up questions about the soul, and that time an angel appeared.
An angel?
It was played by a lens flare and just kinda floated past.
Well, that sounds convincing.
It was very shiny and had a robot voice.
Even better! Very convincing.
I've learned a lot too. I've learned that out here is a dangerous place and no place for the faint of heart.
Or competence of mind.
Or people whose voices have dropped.
That's true, Danton, and you're my hero.
Do they usually sound this incesty?
Not really. I'm as surprised as you. I expected any desperate incest to involve the captain.
Mr. Williams, I'm Jen Hastings, head science officer.
Why are you introducing yourself? You knew him last episode. You were there when he was arrested. You were involved with his arrest, and you were pissed off with him.
Corporal Luke Williams, you are under arrest for espionage, data tampering, and intent to cause harm.
I did no such thing.
But Luke, we have evidence. Why would you do such a thing?
Of all people, I would have never suspected him.
I know. Mr. Williams, I'm Jen Hastings, head science officer. I was assigned by Admiral Croft to be your counsel.
Thus confirming that he doesn't know what a science officer should be doing.
Wait, what's going on here? Is this Earth?
This is Luke Williams. He spent most of the show betraying Genesis 7 and trying to kill them all for reasons.
Compelling reasons?
Probably not.
This green screen makes me think I'm watching a Christian version of Sin City. Instead of comics, they use sci-fi. But instead of budget money, they used prayer. So we see Luke's lawyer, who is also 12. Hey, was there an anti-adult apocalypse in one of the episodes I missed?
I wish. No, it's like the Admiral got NASA and Bugsy Malone mixed up. So Williams isn't too interested in talking to his lawyer.
How is she his lawyer? It takes longer than she's been alive to go through law school.
I don't have to tell you anything.
You're right, so I'll just leave, and there will be no one left to help you. See you in prison.
Wait, if she loses the case, is she going to jail too? Well, that's one way to get the best from a lawyer. Anyway, now that the mission's running down, Not Nod's talking about starting a new career as Jacques Cousteau.
Do you think Genesis Command would allow me to have LG-7 when it's decommissioned?
You'll have to ask Admiral Croft. Why do you want it?
I wanted to make a mini sub out of it and take it into Lake Michigan.
It's either that or start driving a Tesla in high Earth orbit, accusing heroic divers of shit, and generally being a prick.
I wanted to make a mini sub out of it and take it into Lake Michigan.
Just imagine it. Wooden acting and pretend danger in a whole new setting. It'd be like a regular episode, only damper. Wouldn't it be neat if underwater pressures were the same as the vacuum of space? It's not, but it'd be so cool if it was.
Can I mention Star Trek Into Darkness and laugh at J.J. Abrams for being as dumb as Genesis 7?
Dumber, surely. Dalton's just talking about turning a spaceship into a submarine. He might even have to make major modifications. JJ just stuck the Enterprise in an ocean. But in any case, I have the sneaking suspicion that much of this episode is just going to be them sitting in chairs and talking about crap.
A la every episode beforehand.
Yeah, I was about to ask if they still did that.
Every damn time. This one's different though. This time there's nothing even pretending to be an adventure.
The first thing I'm going to do when I get back is get my car and go pick up Miss Jennings. What a pleasant surprise.
The useless one back on Earth lets them know that there's nothing between them and Earth. No plot, no entertainment, no possibility for comedy. Nothing that can slow them down getting home. Except maybe more angels, I suppose.
See you in a month or so.
That seems like forever. Sorry.
Holy fuck, without glasses, she looks identical to the paperweight on Genesis 7. Has she been Clark Kenting the whole time, or is their gene pool as shallow as their theology?
That seems like forever. Sorry.
I feel the same way, Miss Jennings.
Twist ending, her first name is actually Miss. Her parents figured she was so stupid she'd need reminding.
I bet if I rerouted the battery power into the neodymium capacitors, increase the flow in the hydrogen pumps, and compress H2 into the ignition cells, I could have us home in less than a month.
Or you could just put the pedal down. I know that sounds a bit obvious, but think about it this way. Either they're not going at maximum possible speed, and they could get home faster by going faster, or they're already going at literal maximum possible speed and need a crazy workaround to go even faster. Something that's not been tested safely, otherwise it would be a regular part of the operation. So either there's an obvious and simple way to get home faster, or they're a bunch of reckless idiots. Or, and this is my favourite, there's an obvious way to get home quicker and they're a bunch of reckless idiots.
It turns out that the traitor was out for revenge on the crew because he'd done amazing in his training, expected to be assigned to the Genesis 7, and his spot was given to someone who had the surname Andrews.
It seems to me that unless you know someone or you're in someone's family, you can't get anywhere in this organization.
Since the crew of the Genesis 7 is this guy and his nephew and niece, I'd say that accusation has a neutron star worth of weight behind it.
That isn't true, Luke. Jennings isn't related to anyone, and she's head of communications.
Oh, very good. Have you got 2 examples?
They don't even have one. Jennings is fucking the captain of the Genesis 7. In fact, apart from the leads, we only know about the personal relationships of a couple of characters. Luke Williams, who's not got any command connections and got shafted.
I see you scored highest in your class in sciences and technology.
A lot of good that did.
And Aurelia Croft.
And what about Aurelia Croft? She's the Admiral's daughter, and she's just a mechanic.
Daughter of the Admiral, who she claims is just a mechanic, but is actually a lieutenant.
This is Lieutenant Aurelia Croft requesting permission to dock.
And Luke's direct superior officer.
This is Lieutenant Aurelia Croft and Corporal Luke Williams at your service.
Wow, this would be a questionable hiring practice for a mom-and-pop bakery.
Or the Trump administration.
Look, you sinned. That's a fact. But you can still seek forgiveness from the organization. You'll have to put aside your jealousy and accept where God has placed you.
So every position in this company was chosen and filled by God? Either the Andrews are literal fucking prophets, or this is clearly nepotism.
Just had a thought, he was placed there by God and can seek forgiveness from the organization that placed him there. These fuckers worship Genesis Command!
Look, you sinned. That's a fact. But you can still seek forgiveness from the organization. You'll have to put aside your jealousy and accept where God has placed you.
Their God exists and it's a bunch of assholes running a space program. Okay, I realize that was just bad writing, but that's too funny to ignore. Dumbasses.
You'll have to put aside your jealousy and accept where God has placed you.
I'll try.
Then you'll need to appear before the board and ask for forgiveness.
What, that's it? He says sorry and the story arc is finished? Wow, I think this show finally gives us few fucks as the audience.
But don't ask unless you really mean it, Luke.
As God, they can read minds.
Interestingly, what with demographic changes happening in the US projected to give most people a nice tan in the future, this must be a minority run business because, you know, they're all white people.
Maybe they're all inbred. It explains so much. Maybe that's why she's right and there's really no nepotism. They're all related. As they pass Saturn, they're all reminiscing about all the good times Dripstick almost died.
You know, I prayed a lot when I was stuck out there near Titan.
We prayed a lot when you were out there too. But see, the Lord brought you through it.
Yes, he did. And then saved me while we orbited Orcus. I'll never forget that place.
You know, you have a very interesting testimony. Not everyone can say, well, I was orbiting this distant trans-Neptunian object, God saved me. It's pretty amazing.
Do you see the pain your performance is causing me? Huh?
You know, you have a very interesting testimony. Not everyone can say, well, I was orbiting this distant trans-Neptunian object, God saved me. It's pretty amazing.
He's also the reason you're out there, so it all evens out. Back on Earth, this guy's talking to Luke's lawyer over some water brand water. Apparently, he used to be a suspect.
You know, they thought it was me for a while there.
Why'd they do that?
Well, they were setting him up to the villains so obviously that I'm not convinced they didn't get their actors mixed up halfway through and just ran with it.
Well, now they're trying to show the different ways to deal with jealousy and failing. Because this guy took the fall for something Danton did and his career suffered while Danton soared.
Danton brought in this French chemical called humi or something like that. It was disgusting. Anyway, he stuck up the whole place and I got the blame for it.
So you took the fall for Danton?
I always resented him after that for the longest time, but he always kind of got picked over me, you know?
How he's okay with it now because he's where God wants him to be.
So, do you still resent him?
Nah, I'm over that now. I'm good with whatever God gives me.
If he knew that Dinton and the captain were laughing about that a few episodes ago, he'd wish he tried to kill them.
Yeah, the whole lab smelled really bad, but I couldn't resist opening that vial of Who Me. You didn't? Yes. You did?
The moral here is fucking horrific. Be wrongly punished, and you have to be cool with watching the guy who broke your career get all the accolades in the universe because God or some shit. The successful deserve it. If your life is crap, accept it and never ever rock the space boat.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
This worldview takes a just world fallacy and runs away with it. Down the street, to the bus stop, to the nearest airport, and on a long holiday to where the fuck this is set. It sounds like it was scored by a lethargic Kraftwerk cover band.
Mars was an interesting place. I enjoyed our walk on the surface.
Me too. Maybe one day we can bring back some sort of all-terrain vehicle and drive around.
What, you didn't bring enough milk cartons and wallpaper paste to just build one?
Is it usually this thrilling?
Usually, more so.
The mind boggles and the intestines seize.
You know, God's creation is more complicated than I ever thought it could be.
I agree. It shows that God is infinitely more wise than we can comprehend.
I could listen to these monotone kids jerk their idea of God off all day, but I have better things to do with my life, like spending as little time as possible doing that.
I wish there were a way to travel further out without spending so much time and fuel. I'll have to get to work on that.
Didn't you literally pick up a probe that was traveling further out into space?
Anyway, did you know that the pile of subjects the writers of this don't understand is big enough to include nuclear power?
Nuclear propulsion is too messy and dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think I want to glow when I turn out the lights.
As Arthur C. Clarke said, any line from a sufficiently stupid TV show is indistinguishable from a joke.
Basically, the writers have gotten so desperate to fill pages that they Googled some hypothetical space travel systems and are listing them.
What about ion thrusters?
Nuclear propulsion is too messy and dangerous.
Well, what about a solar sail, where they harness the ions of the sun to push a vehicle?
I thought about doing some work in the Alcubierre drive. I think it's plausible.
Wow, Danton, that's an ambitious project.
Almost as ambitious as getting him to say that word without sounding like a Speedy Gonzales impersonator.
Alcubierre drive.
No, making warp drive is much easier than getting him to name drop a Mexican without giggling.
Basically, it's a drive that warps space, so you're always going downhill.
You can actually warp space.
Shouldn't you know that? I mean, you're not a high school senior yet, but you work in space. On a spaceship. In space. But in the show's defense, the writer realized this was idiotic and tried to distract everyone with a contradiction of astronomical proportions.
You can actually warp space.
Theoretically, space is already warped in places.
Wait, you're telling me that space is warped around Earth?
Yes, it is, and time actually changes speed as it nears Earth.
Genesis 7. Before you start working on a sequel show, Genesis 8 or Psalms 34 or whatever, can you please look up the word theoretically?
You can actually warp space.
Theoretically, space is already warped in places.
Wait, you're telling me that space is warped around Earth?
Yes, it is, and time actually changes speed as it nears Earth.
Genesis 7 has strong opinions on the roles of women. They should be seen and only heard when it's to be a fucking idiot so the men can look good. And occasionally the other way around, when the writers have had too much gin and get brain drain and his sister mixed up.
Call me dense, but that is just a little far-fetched for me to get my mind around.
There are black holes that are not as dense as you are.
We have to adjust our clocks on the station to run with the Earth clocks, because Earth clocks tick just a little slower.
Amazing. I never knew that.
How the fuck did you know what a solar sail was? Is the bridge littered with random trivia and basic fucking questions? And you flip a coin to decide what you're gonna read? I'm not even talking about on set. In the actual show itself.
Well, what about a solar sail, where they harness the ions of the sun to push a vehicle? Amazing. I never knew that.
Speaking of Earth, that little dot is home.
You know, we've studied planet after planet, and all of them are amazing in their own way. But Earth is a very special place.
It's the focus of God's attention.
Yes, it is. And mine.
He wants to fuck that planet. He's gonna need a bigger dick.
It's the focus of God's attention.
Top 10 assertions from Genesis 7. Pretty sure that has to be somewhere near the top.
That's actually fairly rational compared to some of the shit they said.
We traveled out here for over a year, and I always thought of home.
You've been away for a year? If anything, you look younger than you did in the pilot. I don't know if the makers of this have ever been 12, but aging around that time tends to be somewhat noticeable.
Maybe they hope the audience will be too disgusted by their acting to actually look at any of them. Anyway, the traitor plot comes to a head with Luke Williams making a confession and going down in rank.
I see they reduced your rank.
For trying to kill everyone in Genesis 7.
They are pretty annoying, though. I'd probably promote him. Plus, he was top of his class. He must be smart. Maybe he's playing them and biding his time to try again.
Hey, wait. The nepotism problem just got even worse. He was the top of his class, meaning he beat Downtown, the universe's greatest super genius. This guy is probably smarter than Dip Tap, but family means more than the incredible things he has to offer. Over and over they've demonstrated that Tiptoes should be back on Earth building stuff, but they sent him away on a dangerous mission, when there was someone better than him who could have gone on the mission. All because someone wanted to make sure that 3 Andrews family members were the first ones in deep space.
Why aren't you calling him Danton? It took me like 5 minutes to realize you weren't talking about stupidly named people from other episodes.
It was a joke in my first episode because his name's fucking stupid and I very quickly regretted it. Half my scripting is spent coming up with nicknames for the fucking guy. Hey, I have a question. What's the fucking point of a lawyer if they only find out you made a confession afterwards? And he didn't even go behind her back. This is their process.
I see you made a full confession to the board and asked for forgiveness. I see they reduced your rank.
You didn't even attend sentencing? What is the point of you, lawyer?
Christian law is not like our heathen earth law.
I'll tell you one way you can make restitution. You can start by going to the Genesis 7 crew quarters and cleaning them.
They've been away for a year. Why haven't the rooms been cleaned in that time? Oh no. The mold. The mold!
So they're gonna let me stay?
I'd be surprised too, Luke. Even for them, that's stupid.
Alright, Private, get to your cleaning.
He's been demoted to private, but the boss of the organization is an admiral. Did someone invent this command structure after suffering a head injury?
They probably invented it in the same recovery period when they invented the rest of the organization. So they finally ran out of bollocks to say in space and approaching the Earth, ready to land.
I have a heading of 232 degrees and 30 minutes from sidereal. Nose pitch to 6 degrees.
Agreed.
Mission's over. I'm not paid to give a fuck anymore.
Molly, confirm.
Gimbals optimum.
Ball gags properly deployed.
Roger that, Captain.
Only after removing the butt plug.
I'll see you at 11:30.
Hey, what does this button do?
I'm not sure this show really deserves all the loud and triumphant music. Also, actually landing costs too much to film, so they meet up in this hallway.
I missed you so much.
I missed you too.
It seemed longer than a year.
It wasn't even a year. The whole mission was a year, but they had to stop off 9 episodes back.
Within seconds of landing, the captain's being forced to give a speech to a room full of clapping robots. Is that a reference to another episode or a new piece of bullshit?
I think that's terrible audio recording.
Accident or not, it sounds like what happens at the end of a Dalek theater piece.
You've got me. What are you waiting for? At long last, here I am.
Of all the things that I have learned over the past year, the greatest discovery has had to do with something I already knew. I had my suspicions that the Earth was special, but now that I've seen the entire solar system, I know it for sure.
You know, most scientists do set out with an idea of what they're expecting to find. They have to. But your belief, that you say you already knew, is unfalsifiable. And what you found on your journey should have neither strengthened nor weakened it. The fact that you think it strengthened it means you're even less intellectually honest than I thought. And that's a big achievement.
Consider Mercury and Venus. Each has an average temperature that is hot enough to melt lead. Mercury has no protective atmosphere, and it is bombarded on a daily basis by debris from the sun.
I want to know what fucking idiot gave him a speech. He acts like Ayn Rand writes. I don't know what that means, but I don't like either of them, so I assume they're the same thing. The whole speech is a pile of assertions, half-facts, no facts, and a few actual facts. He's mainly doing a greatest hits of science shit and shit science from other episodes. Eventually it meanders into Calvinism, creationist bollocks, and
the most terrifying thing ever said by someone who's been to space and thinks he's a scientist.
There will be no sun, no moon, for Christ will be its light, illuminating every crevice and every corner of every heart. Thank you.
Thank you, and fuck off. We close with Dawn applying for a lunar station that Genesis Command is building, and Priscilla being so dedicated to being crap that she's not even sure if she'll stay with the whole space thing.
I don't know yet, but I have time to find out.
Yeah, you made it to the top level of space exploration before you hit puberty. I'm sure you could become a brain surgeon after a long weekend. Well, this was disappointing. Honestly, after the last episode with the angel and the promise of some sort of interstellar medium, which, by the way, they did not go beyond, I was really hoping for some sort of mad metaphysical episode where they caught a glimpse of heaven, met God and their dead parents, and returned to Earth via magic. This is one of the crappiest episodes in a sea of sewage. I got a few more things I'd like to mention, things I've been holding on to. 1, the Genesis 7 itself is a downloadable asset that anyone can use. And 2, episode 5 of The Expanse used Genesis 7's weird, jazzy hijinks music. And now, listen carefully to the in-store music.
Looking for a Sherpa. Sherpa. Ah, sas.
There we go. What The Expanse used to show a crap a shop was, Genesis 7 used as actual music. That is symbolism right there.
After I watched the first episode of Genesis 7, shockingly, it didn't pull me in to watch anymore. Good sci-fi gives me goosebumps, and most Christian movies do send a chill down my spine, so between that, I was expecting to have a strong reaction to this series. But coming in at the head and tail of the beast, I've seen and reviewed Christian projects that were more scientific, or more educational, or had worse special effects, or were worse acted, or had cringier lines about garbage philosophy, or stated demonstrably harmful ideologies to human existence, or simply recited the same moralization of non-moral issues. Even in this dystopian future where child labor is legal and Christian science leads the way, this series shouldn't offend you. It's good for a little laugh. For my rating, this movie, it wasn't god-awful, it was god-innoxious. Well, that was fun.
Me or the episode?
Well, either.
You have a weird definition of fun.
Oh yeah, with all the crap out there, you just gotta smile and see the best.
I prefer to hate things, but thank you for sharing my pain.
No problem. And if you ever want me back, just call.
Now, if you'll excuse me, for the last time, that was Genesis 7, and I am so sorry.